Hello, and welcome to the first episode of Alan Revises. This will be an attempt to revise something that I've written a long time ago, in this case, about 8 years ago, and I haven't touched it for that long. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at what we can improve, what I've learned over the past 8 years. We'll go into this, and the general creative process in revising something that you have already written. The key to that is I now have the space between the initial writing of it and a couple of edits in order to get an idea of what I want to what I want to see in a film, because this is a screenplay, and the format is using the Celtx system. If you haven't used Celtx before, it's extremely useful for organization, for figuring out where your tabs are, figuring out what your scenes are, and so on. It's extremely useful. It is a paid service now, I believe, although they've got a free trial period if you want to give it a shot and see if it is for you. All right, but this is called the second apple. It's after the first apple, of course, was the legend that of the golden apple of something or other, wherein Paris was given the choice between three goddesses of basically choosing one of them to be worthy of the golden apple. Um, and he chose love. He chose Aphrodite, and he chose because she offered him that he would get the love of the woman that he chose, and that happened to be Helen of Troy, and that started the Trojan War. And if you know your history, this is a great myth from which it is said to spring, as at least a rationale of like why things happened. So, like I said, I've written this about 8 years ago, and it definitely needs work. Exterior, city, and day. Let's see if we can't enlarge this a little. There we go, 150%, 200%, so that people can see this. All right. Vibrant modern metropolis sprawls toward the horizon while skyscrapers brush the heavens. That's not a great opening line. It isn't. It isn't. It sets the scene. Here we are in the city. This is what the city looks like. A bolt of white lightning cracks through an otherwise clear sky, strikes on the grounding rod atop an otherwise ordinary walk-up apartment building. The echo of the lightning fades into the roar of the exterior city streets. The echo of the lightning fades into the roar of the city, which in turn yields to the steady rattle of a package-laden delivery bicycle pumped by sepia-toed Bergen. Bergen is our along by Bergen. He's young, he's fit, and he's got no real direction other than where his delivery is taking him. He's young, he's fit, and he's got... This is basically the thumbnail for the character. He is our lead for the story. He is our Paris of Troy. He's fit, and he's got no real direction. Okay, so... and where it's taking him. All right, that's things. He sees a woman, young, lively, and perfect, as she hails a cab. Glimpse of a woman. He is stricken with desire that won't let him turn his head. There we go. That's an even opening. Yeah, it is stricken that won't let him turn his head. That won't let him look away. I saw her on the streets. I don't like the voiceover here. Yeah, he's smitten to the quick. The achingly beautiful woman slides into the back seat of a cab, oblivious to his passage. Bergen the brakes and calls to her, but she closes the door amid the city's din. Pedals after it. Okay, a horn blares, brakes squeal, Bergen turns. His eyes widen as a car barrels towards him. Bergen at last draws his gaze from her. From his soulmate. Okay, so that's the opening. He sees a woman that he unbelievably desires. It's love at first sight, to him anyway. And if you've never felt love at first sight, it is the most amazing thing until it isn't reciprocated, because love has to be two ways, and it actually has to be cultivated. You can have desire at first sight. That's entirely possible. You can have that instant feeling of connection, even without any actual connection. People are kind of wired to work that way because it has worked in the past, and it's kept the human race going. All right. His eyes widen as the car barrels towards him. We're going to super in the legend 6 months later. All right. I got really artistic with these descriptions. The one thing that screenplays differ from most other stories or short stories or even novels is the amount that you're allowed to describe. We don't have a lot of time here, and a lot of this would be the purview of someone else who would be putting together the movie. In terms of photography, in terms of direction, in terms of all that, someone else will manage this. It's enough that you put a few things here and there to say it's going to be like this, and you let them have their part of the creative process to put it forward. And if they have any questions, they'll generally ask the writer what's going on. And if they don't have any questions, if they think they know what they want in terms of style and everything else together, then the writer generally takes a back seat. Whereas, like, well, I wouldn't have scripted it quite that way if I was going to make it that visual, but it's not, unless you're a writer, director, producer. You generally don't get a call on these things. A thinner, wiser, a thinner, slower, and wiser. Meanders through. Yeah, see, I don't need a whole bunch of this stuff. I'll keep it around in case I'll remember it in case I get asked about it. Well, you could have this way. Anders on the street. His bicycle, a noisome beater. The subtext is that he had to go to the hospital, that he had serious injuries, and because of the way American insurance works, he is dead broke. His GoGos Pizza, subs, and worthy grinders, 30 minutes or it's free. Almost no place does 30 minutes or it's free. I need to put something important in there. That's called an asterisk, where there are terms that apply. Pile in the back of the rust and insulated pizza warmer. Okay, let's just move on. Caramel swerves adroitly to avoid another pavement encounter without missing a beat. So he's still... he's still fearless, I would say. He hasn't been beaten down. He still has that That motion where he's not panicked. He doesn't have PTSD. That may change, of course. Bella swerves it adroitly to. Um, a little rattled. We'll make him an underdog. It's important, though, that he's a little rattled. And pedals on. Gotta run. Okay. That's 4. Stop now. Yeah, sorry. Traffic and traffic. Okay, let's have, yeah, I need him to have somebody to talk to, because I need to, yeah, sorry, traffic. You were saying? Tony. Now, is he off-screen, or is it a voiceover? He's off-screen. Over the phone, specifically. The difference between voiceover and off-screen is, off-screen means that the people in the scene can hear them. Voiceover means it's meant for the audience. Did you see her? No such luck. Sorry, traffic and crowds. I was talking about baseball. Gotta ask. You still looking for her? No. Yeah, but not. Yeah. And still no luck. Alright. It establishes that and we'll have Tony. Yeah. Moving. Somewhere. Maybe one day. Hello. Okay, we'll do a little comedy here. Didn't I say I gotta run? Now let's dial back this action sequence. Before at the bottom breaks at the bottom of the stairs. Bottom of the stairs of a walk-up apartment whose lightning rod still smolders up top. Now you might be saying, but hey, doesn't that dovetail in with the scene before? Did both things happen 6 months before and 6 months after? The answer is yes. His phone chimes a warning. He makes a mad lunge for the button, slams his finger against it. Chimes a warning. The light inside flickers to life, brightens to full as the door heaves open, revealing everything you do in here is in the moment for a screenplay. So that's just the way I'm visions of an old man. He's lodged. Storm white hair. have him silences the alarm. Exit. And promptly loses his footing on the stair. Okay, the old man's hand snaps out lightning fast, keeps Bergen and his pizza late. The bicycle didn't go up the stairs. What am I thinking there? Keeps Bergen. Hey, you got something? Thanks. Hey, you got something in your hair. Well, let's divide that up a little better. Okay. Thanks. Gestures toward the tassel. Hey, you got something there. The tassel is for play. Are you Mr. Bergen with the pizza? Apparently I am. Guess. Are you Peter Jove? That's a play on Jupiter. Anyway, Supreme with extra olives? I should know that. Peter sits as Peter extracts a pizza box, a box pizza from the warmer. That would be my free pizza, Peter Jove says. All right. Let's not confuse the flow. You know what? Let's not. I need to keep things coherent so people aren't asking, is the old man Zeus? They don't have to remember that. This has to read very clean for whoever reads it. You don't want to have a lot of back and forth. You have to remember this, you have to remember that. The story has to be simple because we're doing this for movies, and even if you're approaching a complex subject, you need to be able to present it in simple ways so that the person who first gets to read it will understand it. So now it's always disguised Zeus. Guess I am. Are you waiting? Are you on a Supreme with extra olives? Zeus flashes. That would be my pizza. My free pizza. All right. Now, I don't need to go by... okay. I will mention it somewhere where he's the name on the order is Peter Jove. The tag is made, the receipt, one, Peter Jove. There, I get to include the joke, but it doesn't have to be blatant, and I don't have to confuse the reader with what's going on. Is it disguised Zeus? Is it an old man? Is it Peter Jove? It all needs to be one thing. And this was, while would have revising is important, because before I would not have caught it. I absolutely didn't catch it. Barring inclement weather, of course. There's the actual alarm. I set two of them. You don't know I didn't have my pizza yet, because I was discussing the terms with you. Now this is a lot back and forth, rapid fire. You will note, I do not have my pizza yet. Bergen replies, because I was discussing the terms with you. If you take $2 off the price, I will take the pie. Those $2 would come straight from my pocket. Would it? I'll tell my boss that you weren't willing to pay full price. I'm going to introduce Costas later, and that'll be fine. I don't need to mention his... Which is true, by the way. Then he'll shrug and put you on the list. Zeus tilts This is maintained and circulated from odor to odor all over town. To be on the list ensures that you will never be visited by any, never be delivered, never be visited, never be delivered any culinary delights for 2 generations. That seems harsh. What of the pie? It will be donated to a nearby shelter. My boss will write it off as a tax deduction. I don't know if they actually do this, but he is at least saying that they will. They have to do something with the pie, and I'm not sure that they can second sell it. And certainly Bergen doesn't want to eat it, so or take it back to the store. What is your full name? Bergen Hoffman. Very German, yes. This guy is Zeus. It's good to have met you, Bergen Hoffman. Farewell. This guy is Zeus. Slams the door shut. Brilliant brownout as Brian blinks and stunned it. Now, there we go. That was their opening scene, the opening bit where we get an idea of who Bergen is, the fact that somebody's interfering in his life in a kind of mystical or magical way, and that, well, that things are in play. I don't know if it's strong enough on its own to move forward. I think it is because we start with a car accident, and we move into this, which is social tension, and then we move into character, homeless shelter, day, Bergen, white receipt, and Peter Joes. White receipt in hand, with another, along with another, from the shelter, waves goodbye to a little crowd. To a little crowd outside. The foremost of them, pizza box in hand. He needs. Christ. I don't feel like the thing with the receipts. Peter Joe's white receipt in hand, along with another from the shelter. Outside, is he? The foremost of the group has the pizza box. Holds the pizza box in hand. All right. There's a lot of Rileys in terms of what I want him to be doing at any one time. It makes sense that he would be doing this, but it's not necessarily important that we note it. If it's implicit in the writing, then you don't need to put it forward, and cutting down on that will help keep your screenplay more coherent, less bloated, and getting right to the point, so that whoever does read it and hopefully catches an interest in it will continue to have that interest because the story is just moving on. Bergen catches sight. Bears her only a brief glance before he heads off. His hands freeze set. Anything stacked? On my way back. Anything stacked? GoGos Pizza, a little pizza parlor adorned with fake marble pillars out front that sway in the breeze. It's of course a street breeze, but I don't need that. It's a breeze on back. Is adorned. Now, it's important that if Bergen rides around it first, rather than establish it's a cozy little pizza, the between fake marble pillars. I don't need to say that they're out front. Sway in the breeze. Bergen rides around the back of a sign that reads GoGos Pizza and Gyros, however you want to pronounce it. I'm from Michigan, and we pronounce things differently. Into a nook and interior. Into a nook and removes the warmer. All right, he's inside because we're in the interior. All right, into a dedicated nook, and the whole place is neat and tidy, if a little tired and old. That's because the owner that keeps it up likes to keep it up. And places are indicative of who owns them. So we already know a bit about Costas, who we're going to be meeting here, who's based on one of my bosses I had for an early job. Great guy. Much the same as you'll find him here. He's an old Greek who cooks really well and knows how to run a place and gives a shit about his employees. Very important. At a side table, two old Greek men play tabali at a sunlit table as though they were idly waiting for the Persians to come. The foremost of them, Costas, looks up from his stones as Bergen enters, idly wipes a dice-laden hand off on a much stated. Tony, tell me, no good, the Supreme? Peter Jove goes on the list. It's sad. Such a voice. I think only credit now, not forbid. Bergen shrugs. So Costas is forgiving. And he also knows a good voice when he hears this. Goes on the list. I think I could do a little better there. Peter Jove was a bust. There's lots of busts of Jupiter or Zeus, as the case may be. Is Greek, so is Zeus, not Roman. Important differentiation. Throughout this, you got to be careful with the Greek-Roman stuff. The Romans appropriated so much that was Greek, because it's better to have culture than to have none. It's sad. You get receipt from St. Mary's? Yeah. Put in bag. I write up. Suddenly remembers. Oh, you get oil for Tony. Virgin or extra virgin? Just virgin enough. Tony gives a chuckle. Batter of his native tongue that becomes that stirs a laugh between the two Greeks, which Bert cannot share. It's important to note that Costas knows enough about humor. Just virgin enough. The extra virgin oil. Maybe you need it, maybe you don't. All right. Crony gives a chuckle. I'm not going to use the word crony. Gives a chuckle, then breaks into a pat. It stirs a laugh between the two Greeks, which Bergen cannot share. Bergen doesn't understand Greek. That's important for later. Bergen heads into the kitchen. Popular music fills out of a cozy kitchen. Tony, is it? As usual, Bergen. And happier with his lot. Dices onions and minces fresh bell pepper with a... He can't do both. He's either dicing or he's mincing. Minces fresh bell pepper with a masterly rhythm. Bergen enters, prepares to... and slides past. And a poster demonstrates how to properly conduct CPR. That's an actual poster. On the wall, a poster. They had that back in the pizza shop where I knew Costas. So it's always funny to see those little touches. Coming around. About time. You taking the sights? Didn't see her, if that's what you mean. Now, there's a lot of, again, there's a lot of little things you can do with the Rileys, which are the little action parentheticals that are put in there. But the important part is that you don't overly burden either the director or the actor with things you want them to do. You're going to set the stage. They're going to block it out. They're going to figure out how best to do these things. If they want input from the writer, they will ask. Didn't see her, if that's what you mean. Well, she's out there, unless she's moved. Bergen stares at him. So, it was one of my best buys. Today, anyway. Passing it over. That's what I like to hear. I almost lost a hand passing it over. Sure beats boiled potatoes. Sure beats boiled potatoes or whatever. Now, I should probably do some research there as to what soup kitchens or the like actually serve. They don't serve necessarily bad food. It tends to be filling food that's cheap to make. And by cheap, I mean whatever they can get that's donated. If they had, like, if a place, I've seen this before, where like the refrigerator breaks down, and the place has food that's about to spoil, they will instead gift it to a shelter or what have you, so they can at least get the tax write-off for the full value of the meal, rather than it going bad, giving it to the shelter and the shelter going, no, we can't take this. So what's important there is that sure beats boiled potatoes, is that whatever is donated they use. And Meatloaf. I'm not going to say boiled potatoes. They got better than them. And sure beats surprise meatloaf. That's what I like to hear. You want to grab some beers tonight? This established that they're friends. Shoves a receipt into a pouch. Nah. Hey, that girl you're keeping an eye out for, she could be in a bar. You know, we could even try more than one tonight. Slumps against the counter, dejected. Face it, you don't know her name, where she lives, or even how old she might be. I met this cougar who doesn't matter. Who looked doesn't matter. Well, you know what matters right now? Olive oil. Grab me a can, will you? And some napkins too. Oh, right. Almost forgot. All right. Bergen apologizes because he's gotten distracted. He realizes he's gotten distracted, but he's gotten distracted. So that shows he's thoughtful even when he's not being thoughtful. That he's not in a balance, but there's tension within him, and he knows there's tension in him. Scoops up a box cutter from the counter, steps over the brown. And open a box of napkins too. That's why he's going to grab the box cutter. At least I know where all that is. Don't he, Chuckles? Again, rests it open and steps on into, and here we have our first wow, something different has happened. And this is, which page am I on? Which page am I on? I don't know. Oh, come on, Celtx. You've got everything else, but you don't have this? Well, it is also at 200%. So we're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4. We're looking at the very early part of the story where we get to do the big reveal. And that's important. You want to have the first turning soon enough so that the audience doesn't get bored, and moreover, whoever is reading your script doesn't get bored either. They're wondering, well, where's this second golden apple? Well, now they know. All right, but we are well over the mark at 35 minutes, and I am going to be closing this out. Let me save this. I should save it under a different file, and I will, because I'm going to update the when I've done this. And in fact, I shouldn't have saved it under what I just saved it, because I'd like to have various iterations of it going. But that's all right. I've got a backup to this. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. All right. This has been Alan Revises, the first episode of it. I hope you've enjoyed this little foray into creative writing, and I hope you have a good day. Thanks.